Welcome to ESD School, brought to you by Attract. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single episode. Enjoy the video. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with your colleagues. Until next time, this is ESD School by Attract.
So, dear all, we are here for a new episode of the ESD School YouTube channel, and we want to present today an example of 2 days training workshop with the example of the one we organize with the support of Olympus France. So here in the summary of all the episodes we are planning or we have done until now, we are in training in practice with this kind of training workshops in order to get more experience. First, we know that the ESD training guidelines are like this. It means that a lot of steps are needed to be trained in ESD. First, you should have background with advanced diagnosis, proficiency in EMR, adverse event management. After, you will be prepared to ESD training with knowledge, theory, live conferences, meeting. After, you should have an initial involvement as an observer, but also as an assistant. And after, you will have animal training with supervision before doing your first case in human under supervision if possible. So first, the background is very important because it's not a good idea to begin your endoscopy experience by ESD. ESD is a difficult technique that needs a lot of skills previously learned during your endoscopy training, so you should have previous knowledge about it. So first, we work a lot on the selection of trainees with 2 different kinds of training workshop. One for discovery of ESD and one for being better, being trained more intensively if you have already a small experience in endoscopic submucosal dissection and that you want to invest a lot to be trained in this technique. Motivation and demands are very important. We try to cover all the French territory. You need an endoscopy background in diagnosis and in EMR probably, and we try to analyze the territorial need. It means that you should have a center with high volume of cases close to you and a need in your area. For the level 2, motivation is still very important, territory cover also, endoscopy background also, territorial need, and if possible, an ESD experience in simulation and in humans. And the aim of this second kind of training is to get better skills, to be trained more, to know new tips and tricks, but it's not people who only discover the technique. They are already doing our training, and we try to give them a little more to let them progress. So second point, the knowledge about ESD theory. During this 2 days workshop, we have around 2 hours of theoretical knowledge in the afternoon of the first day. And we try to go back to a lot of key points about ESD with a free discussion and a goal that is to answer to the questions of the guy who are already doing ESD, or to try to answer to the question for people who want to begin. So 2 different kind of questions. One to organize ESD and the training, and the second one for people who do ESD to try to give them a lot of tips and tricks to improve their skills and make their ESD shorter, safer, more effective, etc. The third step, we try to give them the chance of observation of many procedures. It means that we organize the endoscopy schedule to have 2 rooms in parallel with around 4 and 5 cases per room. It means that the people who come to the ESD training workshop will see in between 8 and 10 cases of ESD during the observation phase of the workshop. And we try to mix the cases to show easy cases that are the good cases for them to begin, mild cases of the current life, and also difficult cases to show the differences in between the way of cutting, the fibrosis management, the difficult location management. The aim is to give them a panel of lesions from the one they can do to the one they should send or refer to expert centers because it is more difficult than their current skills. We show them also some supervised cases with our trainees, and we use a lot the laser pointing to show to the trainee the good cutting line. So it is a tool we use a lot. The aim, once again, is to show to the trainee where he should cut because it's not easy to show on the screen the good cutting line. So using a laser during the procedure with a trainee of our unit with no insurance problem is also a good way for the guy who come to the workshop training time to see how we train people and how we advise them to be safe and effective. So they also see it in the living case period. And after the second day, we have an animal training period with supervision. And we really think that it's not a good idea to train people with complete ESD procedure on animal models because, like in sport, it's probably better to have very small sequences of the procedure, a cut of a sequence where they will train successively a lot of time. For example, 5 incision and then 5 trimming and then 5 traction positioning because it's probably easier for the brain to learn a small part of the procedure with several attempts than trying to do the whole procedure in only one sequence. So in our lab, we have mainly 2 kinds of models, pig stomach and cow colon. And we usually begin the day by the smile exercise, which is for us very important. We show to the people how to do a smile. So really we do eyes, nose, and mouth with points. And after, with the knife, we explain them how to do a small incision, how to inject with the knife. They also have to manipulate all the devices to understand how it works, all the material needed. So we inject with the knife, and after we will show them how to do a round shape incision at the good depth, doing an incision which is quite regular with a smile shape. And after they have to do immediately after the trimming in order to open the mouth and to make your smile laugh out loud in order to have an opening which is easy to access for the scope. It means you will be able to do a good entrance for a future pocket, tunnel. So once again, this smile exercise is for us very important. You enter the scope and it's finished. And you should give the end to the second guy or repeat this exercise several times. You have your smile and it's down. And if you repeat this many times, you will be able in the current life on a real lesion to do it properly and have a good incision at the good depth, really effective to enter the space. Second exercise. Is to perform ESD by hands. So it's very important to understand all the movement you should do to perform an ESD. And with your brain and your hands, there is not the scope between you and the lesion, and therefore your brain is able to do a lot of things very logically, using the traction strategy, turning around the lesion to cut always in the good axis. All of these points that are evident when you do it by hands and not evident when the scope is interposed between you and the lesion. So please try this small exercise in order to be trained on what you should do.
Oh, we are.
Other exercise, which is really a basic one, but it's really important to understand that in ESD you should fix your cap on the mucosa in order to be stable. So I always ask to people to write their name without the ankle, so just like this. It's not precise, but if you put your ankle in the area, you are very stable to write your name. It's the same in ESD. You should have the scope on the wall, fixed with the cap, and put your knife in order to slide on the mucosa, but very stable thanks to the cap contact on the mucosa. If you are moving like this without any contact on the mucosa, you are not precise, and it's very difficult to have precise movement with the knife. So it's only a small exercise just to understand why it's very important to fix your position by pushing the cap on the mucosa and working by sliding on the mucosa and not in levitation with the breathing movement that change the position of the scope. Next, this exercise, which is probably very important also, is to try to always have the scope orientated to the center of the area you want to cut. It's a difficult movement in endoscopy, but if you manage to have always the knife going to the center of the lesion, here it's in human, but you also can do it by an exercise with a drawing into your model. It's the best way to have the most effective cutting that you can have. It means the knife is always trying to cut the more important number of fibers directed to the center of the lesion. So it is an important thing to target always the center of the lesion, doing this kind of drawing and trying to have the scope always parallel to the lines. And last thing, which is not always available in our unit, but that can be a very good option for training workshop when you have no access to animal model, is this kind of simulated model with non-animal means, where you can, it's the endogel provided by a Japanese company, which helps you to be trained in ESD. There is no animal, so you can work with your current scope for humans, but it's very interesting to have the very early beginning training in ESD, but in fact it's very easy and not so easy to have a progression for people who are already trained in ESD. So probably very interesting for discovery to be trained in resection, but also in traction strategy. For example, here with the attract device, with a multipolar traction strategy. It's very good for this, but unfortunately not really demanding technically, and therefore probably more interesting for early beginners than for people who are already trained in ESD. And finally, this 2 days course in our unit, we have a kind of selection with 2 different groups, ESD discovery, ESD increasing of skills. We try to give them theory adapted to their level. We show them between 8 and 10 cases in live with different difficulties, and also with supervised cases of our trainees in the unit to show them how we train, how we try to help them to have the good strategy to be effective and safe. We do simulation the second days. We keep conviviality, and we try to answer to the questions and help them to organize ESD and to be trained depending on their own limitations and their own difficulties. But it is a very interesting way to create link with the guy who are in ESD training, and to try to have a personalized answer to help them for being better. And finally, you can find a lot of different episodes in our ESD YouTube channel called ESD School. And this one was for me important to show how we organize really the training on supervision with models to get the technical practical skills, and not only theory like the channel show you until now. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with your colleagues. Until next time, this is ESD School by Attract.